Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Three Girls, One Monthly Catch Up. I am, as always, here with the other two of the three girls, Julie and Heather, and we are going to be sharing our updates for the month of October, things that we've done, things that we've enjoyed, our normal monthly recap that we do together because it's more fun and ensures that we do it. So, as usual, we just kind of have a set of categories that we talk about every month when we do this. And Heather goes first this time around. So, Heather, we'll start with kind of the wild card. What have you been up to and doing and generally life stuff in the month of October?
It was my birthday month in October, so I had a day with my parents and got lots of lovely gifts and books and stuff. And then I also, at the beginning of the month, I went to the local museum, did a witchcraft and magic exhibition, which was fascinating. So I went to that with some friends. That was a really good day out. And then I also had a ritual in my friend's wood for Samhain. So lots of kind of like October-y, Halloween-y, Samhain-y type stuff for me this month. It's been quite a nice sociable month, actually, which makes a nice change because I feel like normally I don't do anything.
Well, my month was pretty quiet, actually, which I was quite happy about. Generally speaking, I was mostly at home. I have been getting ready for an in-person art sale that happens in a couple weeks, and like an actual craft fair that I'm going to be selling at. So I've just been doing a lot of work on making items for the craft fair. So that has basically been what I've spent my time doing.
Matt and I celebrated our 13th anniversary. So yeah, so we decided, I told him I don't want to plan. So you need to plan something. I'm too tired because I've been planning other things for us. So he decided to do like a weekend in Pennsylvania. He rented a bed and breakfast, so that was very nice, like quaint little place in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then we spent the day at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Festival because Matthew is a Renaissance Festival whore apparently, and just enough Renaissance festivals, you know. So yeah, we did that, and of course, like the camping trip that I told you about that happened in September, it poured. It rained, and I could not have been more miserable. I'm like, this is the second weekend that I have been rained on. I was freezing. I was trying not to be cranky, but I wasn't succeeding. I was just like, I needed to not rain. I need to not be in it. Like, why am I in the rain all the time now? So unfortunately, yeah, it was pretty rained out. I mean, there were a lot of people though, they were just happy to be there in full costume, just in the rain. They could not have cared. I wish I was that person. I am not that person. But it was nice to spend time together anyway. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. And just doing kind of like, fall, type of things. Like we went to a farm with a family. It's one of the larger farms in the area called Cox Farms, where they do like hay rides and they have, fun little activities for, kids and family, and they have animals there and food and all that. So yeah, so that was my October.
So next category is decks, and Heather, once again, you are first.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have too much to say, actually, because I used the same two decks all month, and we talked about it in our last Three Girls, One Deck when we did our spooky decks. And so I don't have much.
This might be a short segment for all of us.
For all three of us, yeah.
Exactly.
So I used the Halloween Tarot by Kipling West all month, which is just, it's a good little deck. It's fun for the season. It's easy to work with. I like the art style. I like the way the suit changes. I just had a lot of fun with it, really. So yeah, there was that. And then I worked with the you're never going to be able to see these cards. My lighting at this time of night is so weird. And these are so glossy. If you can see these, I'll be amazed. But I also worked with the Halloween Oracle, by Stacey DeMarco, which is another one. I actually like this one enough that I do use it outside of October. I don't tend to use the Halloween tarot outside of October. That feels really theme heavy. But this one I'm quite happy to dig it out at any point during the year. And it's like last month, I think was the first month I'd used Oracle for ages. And now that I've started using it again, I'm just really enjoying it. And I'm really enjoying pairing it with my tarot deck. So that was it, really. And as I say, I talked about them in a bit more detail 2 weeks ago when we did our live.
I will put that live up in the cards because I think this is going to be true for all of us. So.
Yes.
So yeah, my situation is kind of the same. So as I talked about in our previous live, I spent the entire month with the Boo Tarot, which I absolutely adore. It is the cutest freaking thing ever. I loved it so much. I got a complete kick out of using this all month. It was just wonderful. And yeah, there's not much more to say about it than that, other than it's a great deck. It's a lovely deck. It was a lovely gift that I received from somebody. And I treasure it now. And I just loved it. So that was a really fun deck to work with. And then I am kind of in the same boat as Heather, where like, for some reason recently, I've been much more drawn to use Oracle. And so the Oracle that I have been using is this one. Again, the whole month I use the Endless Oracle. And this is just a really cool Oracle. Again, I loved using this. I used it for daily draws every day. And I think I mentioned in our live that this actually is probably an Oracle that like shines a little bit more if you do a spread with it, because it's like, it's a Miriorama. It's like designed for the cards to like fit together and, you know, in one overall picture. And there's a lot of stuff in the guidebook that gives a little more context to like how you might read the cards in combination with each other and like what details to maybe pay attention to. And I will say that finally, when I did a Samhain reading for myself at the end, very last day of the month, obviously, I did do quite a large spread. And so I did actually include like a full, like larger spread of cards from this deck. And it was great. Like it was really cool to use them in that way. Like it really works, you know, the way that the directions that the characters are looking and like what they're looking at, and like a lot of the cards really speak to each other really well that way. And it was a really cool reading. So I do plan to use this one more that way, like maybe actually just get this deck out to do a reading, like a full multi-card reading, which I don't typically do with Oracle, but I think that this deck is really kind of built for that. So it was quite cool. I really enjoyed it. And then the final thing is that obviously I'm still working through the HalloQuest book and with the Arthurian Tarot, and that just continues to be an amazing experience. And I had one particular, like not every lesson in the HalloQuest has you do like a full tarot reading, but some of the lessons, some of the like more major lessons will have like a full tarot spread. And the lesson for the tower, which I did during October, had like a 12 card spread to do. And that was like one of the most crazy bonkers impactful readings I've ever done in my entire life. And this is like the second time that that's happened to me while doing the HalloQuest, where I had this just like completely insane, on point, like totally, you know, kind of like totally in the zone kind of readings. And it was really cool. Like it was so cool. So I'm just having such a good experience with that. Like, I don't know. It's just been really, really awesome. So that's
Very
pretty much me. Yeah.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah. It was so nuts. It was one of those readings where it's like every card you turn over is like so directly addresses that spread position that it's almost like too obvious. You know, you're like, yeah, okay. Like, you know, it's like, oh, if I could have picked one card out of the deck to be perfect in that spot, I just turned it over, you know, like it was crazy. So, yeah, it was really wild. Anyway, so yeah, that was me.
Okay, so well, much like Heather and Sarah, I too have, you know, I've some of the decks that I've worked with, we've showcased on our recent Three Girls Live. So please go there because I worked with I worked with the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, so I'm not going to rehash that, as well as the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. Both love them both. So, but I've been working with, yeah, just actually October was kind of a full month of just working with different pairs of tarot decks together.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so another one that I used was, of course, the Everyday Witch. And I actually, so it's always nice to bring this one back out. And actually, I used this paired with the Raven's Prophecy Tarot, which I wasn't sure
Oh.
if that
Mhm.
was going to land well.
Mhm.
Uh, aesthetically, they actually don't look bad. You know,
Mhm.
it's not as jarring as you would think. And
Mhm.
they really spoke well to each other, I have to say. So I really was, pleasantly surprised by that combination. So
Mhm.
I would do that again for sure. So I did use this in combination with the Raven's Prophecy. What else did I use? Oh, I did. So of course, because hello, spooky season, I did use my Notorious JBG Mini, and this one's trimmed, but this is always fun for me, obviously. So this was a great time, and then I used this along with my JBG Oracle that I also made. So of course they pair well together, and I find that this deck actually pairs well with other tarot decks too. But yeah, this was a good time. And then I think what else did I use? I did use the dark wood together with the horror tarot,
Mhm.
which is on the nose. They're both Abigail Larson, but yeah, that was fun as well. So I was just having a lot of fun in October with like the kind of more spooky, witchy themed decks, and I did use the horror tarot to do like a haunted house themed spread, and that was pretty insightful and and had a journal about that a little bit. So yeah, I've definitely been trying to just use more, give more attention to decks and finding that pairing them has actually been working really well for me
Mhm.
because that way I can feed two birds with one stone type of deal. So,
That's also, it's funny when you mentioned the Everyday Witch and the Raven's Prophecy, like, I had never thought of that combination, but as soon as you mentioned that combination, it was like, "Oh, yeah, that," like, it makes, I don't know, something about that makes sense, like, they're both kind of, like, they're both a little fiery, they're both spunky,
yeah,
they're like spunky decks, like, they
exactly.
kind of have this similar vibe to them in a weird
It
way, like,
really works. It really,
yeah.
really works.
Mm.
And I think that, with Maggie Stiefvater's art, it's what, like, is it pastel that she used? Was it
Mhm.
So it's got a softer feel to it as well, and I think that complements what's her name, Elizabeth Alba.
Mhm.
That's the
Oh, yeah.
artist for her more kind of softer kind of cartoon style. I
Mhm.
just think they actually go decently together, even
Mhm.
though they're different and yet it's not jarring at all. And
Mm.
yeah,
Mhm.
they really read well together. So I was just like, wow, this actually makes me happy. I'll do it again. I didn't think
Mhm.
this would work, but I wanted to use both of them. And I'm like, I've been a little less snobby about how I pair my decks because before it was all about, well, no, these need to be aesthetically pleasing. They must match or
Mhm.
no go. But actually, since I've been more kind of flexible about that, I've been finding really like pairs that really work well that I would never have thought would
Mhm.
work well together.
Mhm.
So kind of just let that go by the wayside, like the whole aesthetic thing. I'm
Mhm.
just kind of trying different ones out together.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes like, that same thing happened to me with the Fantasy Garden Tarot and the Citadel Oracle.
Mhm, mhm,
Totally aesthetically weird together, but, like, it was a vibe thing, like, there was
mhm.
something with the vibe where they really worked together even though they didn't, like, necessarily look like they belonged together.
Right,
Mhm,
right.
Like,
mhm.
sometimes that just
It
works. I
it
don't know.
does work. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
But sometimes don't you find even sometimes when they jar, they work?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Exactly
Oh,
because they
absolutely.
jar. Like,
Yes.
you look at them and you're like, "Oh my god, they just do not look good together," but
Yes.
they're basically giving me exactly the same reading.
Mhm. All right. So our next category that we always talk about is books. So I'll turn it over to Heather to talk about what she was reading in October.
I actually didn't read that much in October. I read,
Love it.
Amazon did, like, Amazon Kindle Unlimited did a set of 6 short horror, like creature feature horror books.
Oh, cool.
And I only ended up reading 5 of them because I ran out of time, even though 2 of them were only 29 pages long. So
I'm sorry, but every time you say, I didn't really read that much. And it's like, I read 5 books.
yeah, but they were like, in total, I read less than 200 pages. When you
Okay.
add them
Oh, with
together,
the
they're like very, very short novellas. They're
okay.
like, the longest one was 50 pages long, and the shortest one was 21 pages. So
Okay.
they were tiny, tiny, tiny little books. They were good. They were fine. I'm creature horror is not really my thing. I don't think so. I enjoyed them enough that I would. I'm not disappointed that I read them, but they weren't fantastic. But they did. So I wrote down the authors because I can't remember any of them. The only author I've read from before was Grady Hendrix, who I really like and would highly recommend. I just love the way that he writes. And then one of them was Joe Hill, who I've seen Horns, which is obviously the film of his book. And his all of their writing styles I really enjoyed. So I would read books by all of the authors, like full novels by all of the authors. Paul Tremblay, Josh Malerman, who did Bird Box, his writing style I loved. His was my favorite, actually. And then a guy I've never heard of called Jason Mott, and he, again, I really enjoyed his writing style. I would read his work, but I'm just not a huge creature horror fan. No, I did read one of the book, but I started it in September and it took me all month. But I'm trying to work my way through Terry Pratchett in order. So I read Pyramids. I read Pyramids this time, which is like book 7 in the Discworld books.
Okay.
And that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I didn't read a ton either, like actual books. I read a couple of just like sort of Halloween-y themed like romance novels, which was just fun, like light fun, totally fluffy, like kind of thing. But the one standout book that I did really enjoy is actually an audiobook I got out of the library. I finally got the 4th book in Becky Chambers' Wayfarer series, which is called The Galaxy and the Ground Within. And it was a fun. I listened to it on audio because I was doing so much crocheting and stuff this month or last month that I always listen to audiobooks and like podcasts and stuff when I do that. But that one was a really fun one on audio, especially because it's very much like an ensemble kind of story, and there are no human characters in the book at all. It's basically a book about this planet that's sort of like a stopover planet for a transit hub for all of the different like wormholes that take you to different parts of space. And so there's like hotels and like all kinds of, sort of services on this planet, and different people from different alien species all kind of get stuck together on this planet. Like there's an accident, and like all of the communications and navigation satellites go down, and so they're basically just like stuck there, like they're like snowed in, but like space snowed in, like at this hotel together. And so it's basically just this really sweet story about these different alien species getting to know each other and like having this like cultural exchange as they all spend time together at this hotel. And it's just like a really lovely story, and Becky Chambers is so amazing at like fully thinking through, what a culture would be like for a particular kind of species. There's like one species where they're almost kind of like ants or centipedes. There's one where they're kind of more like monkey birds. There's one where and there's also like all of these political questions about how these different species have like related to each other over the years, and like who's been like oppressed and colonized versus who's been the oppressors and the colonizers, and like so there's all kinds of like feelings and things that they have to overcome as they get to know each other. Like it was just a great, delightful book. So yeah, that was a good one. And besides that, I pretty much only listened to podcasts. So that was pretty much it.
I was reading a few books at the same time, which means then I don't get anything read like completely. But the one thing that I did manage, the one that I did manage to finish, I audio read it, and it's called "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. I don't know if you've heard of this one. It's popular. I don't know. So I was canceling my audio subscription because I'm just backed up on books that I need to audio read. So, but you have to use up your credits, right? So I'm like just looking through to see what I can use on my credits. And this is a very popular, well received, like well rated book. And it's this memoir about this man, David Goggins. He is a retired US Navy SEAL, Air Force person and Army Ranger. Like he's done everything like military you could possibly imagine, which is not, it's rare to like hold all those different positions, those different, military sectors anyway. And so it's kind of like memoir slash like self-development, self-help type of book, where he describes his childhood, which was very physically, filled with physical abuse from his father, and just a violent family upbringing, and his mother finally making the escape with him, but then of course they're forced to live with limited means, and he suffers, he has to navigate racism in his town, and illiteracy, but just like a chance, I guess, story that he listened to from like I don't know, some type of military figure that was like really heralded at the time. I don't remember his name. It really inspired him. And so he kind of like went into this whole trajectory of wanting to like, be, Air Force, like Navy SEAL, like just, all of these positions that really challenged him, not only physically, but like mentally. And just kind of like through those different career trajectories and life trajectories, like, personal things that happened in his life, just talking about like overcoming the challenges, and times where, his kind of growth mindset, it helped him in a lot of ways. But then like, I mean, he didn't use these words, but like, very much like some parts of like fixed mindset still really hurt him, in terms of, some of his goals and not being able to reach his goals. It's I guess inspiring. I don't know. I was reading it. I was like, is this inspiring or is this just like bonkers? I'm not sure. Like, but it was definitely entertaining. It was, just to kind of get his personal story.
Shall we move on to TV and movies?
So I watched Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix, which was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I just have to like caveat this with, I'm a huge Mike Flanagan fan. I will watch anything that guy does. He does horror beautifully. Like his way, the way it's written, the way it's shot, just everything about the way that he does his work is amazing. It was so good, especially if you are a fan of Edgar Allan Poe. What the interesting thing with House of Usher was that in every other series that he's done, apart from Midnight Mass, which I'll talk about in a minute, all of the characters have been likable. In this one, all of the characters were vile. Every single one of them was vile. He starts off with like, stuff is happening and you don't really know why, and over the episodes it starts to like unpack itself until by the end you find out exactly what's going on. And then by the time you find out exactly what's going on, you're like, holy fuck, really? Like, and it's just so good. It's my favorite. I loved Haunted House. I never remember what that one's called.
Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah. I loved that one. I loved Bly Manor even more, and I thought this one was even better. And then because I was on a Flanagan kick, I then watched Midnight Mass on Netflix, which I'd watched the first episode of before. For some reason, had never gone back to, and then managed to watch it all the way through. Now, I will say, it was amazing. I loved it, and I never ever want to watch it again as long as I live. Okay. Because oh man, was it a ride, and not a pleasant one. Like Midnight Mass was very, because it's all based around Catholicism,
Mhm.
Like there's a creature that's a vampire, but they don't call it a vampire, they call it an angel. And it's very much of this island that they're all Catholics, and it's built around ritual and belief and the things that people will do when they believe something strongly enough, and how our belief affects our perception of what's happening. And there were lots and lots of sermons, not just in the church, but just the way that people communicate with each other, which is a very Flanagan thing to do anyway. He likes to do long monologues a lot. And it was really heavy. Like, it was really, really heavy. And then the end was so depressing. It's one of those where you just sit there and you just feel really heavy with it for a while. And you're like, that was a lot.
For me in October, one of the things that I watched very much on Heather's recommendation was One Piece, which I loved, just completely enjoyed. It was I don't know anything about One Piece. Like, I've never read the manga, or I've never seen an animated series or anything like that. But I just enjoyed the crap out of the live action series. It was delightful. I ended up loving all the characters. It was just so like weird and creative and fun, and nothing was like what I expected it to be, and I just really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was super fun. And then also Bake Off started, so I obviously have to watch that because I watch that every year. And then I also rewatched Over the Garden Wall, which is we talked about in the last live, and which I just thoroughly enjoy. It's a great Halloween watch, and it's super fun. So those are like the main things, I guess, that I watched in October.
I think the highlights for me were One Piece, which Matt and I also watched together, and I found delightful. And I think Matt was, entertained enough where we will, when season 2 comes out, I will definitely be watching. I think Matt will probably. It's just good natured fun, and even just as each of the episodes continued, you just become more and more invested in, and it almost takes on like even a more serious tone, which I kind of like. It starts off very light and everything and funny, but then there are these nice moments in these episodes where it becomes very kind of poignant, very like, I don't know, and serious, and sometimes even melancholy, and just those moments were actually just very moving, and especially in the final episodes. Like,
I cried so much towards the
I was
end.
just like, wow. So yes, I enjoyed it. And then also the other thing that I enjoyed was Revenant, which is a K drama. It's a limited series K drama, and it's like a horror, like paranormal horror. So, but basically, it's about this. She's a college student, and she's struggling financially. She has to care for her mother and herself, and she becomes possessed by an evil spirit, and she also meets this professor who is able to see ghosts and evil spirits, and he himself has had dealings with the same evil spirit. This is the same evil spirit who in the past was responsible for his mother's death, and so the same spirit is responsible for several deaths. So we are just the series takes us along, just following the mystery behind these killings, and the story behind the evil spirit, and basically the one protagonist, the college student, she's trying to rid herself basically of being possessed by the spirit, who then takes over her body to do terrible things. So it was just really well acted, and I just really enjoyed it.
Our final topic that we always cover is sort of like other hobbies and things that we enjoy doing. So Heather, take it away.
So I next year, so I've kind of started this year, so that's a bit weird, but I want to move like all of my journaling onto digital next year. So I've been building like different journals and things, like a tarot journal and a planner for next year and a normal daily journal, and playing around with GoodNotes and how they'll work. And like, I've already started using the daily journal and pulling in like stickers and photos and all of that kind of stuff and like using text and writing. And so that's pretty much, I've spent quite a lot of the month like playing around with those different things in the tarot journal, like how do I want it to look and how do I want to use it and
Are you
stuff.
going to do a video about this? Please do a video about it.
I mean, I wasn't intending to, but I can.
I would. Oh my! See, I just love videos like that, so I would really, really love to see it. So just
Okay.
just throwing that out there. So
that's an idea if you're inclined, but we would love to see it because I'm all about that too.
So for me, I've been getting ready for the big art sale. Crafty wise, I also helped a friend make her Halloween costume. So that was fun. She was Beetlejuice, and so but like Lady Beetlejuice. So she had this like black and white, instead of a suit, she had a black and white striped dress, but she wanted to for it to have like a shirt collar and shirt sleeves, to be more Beetlejuicy, and so I sewed that for her. So that was fun. And then I also have been doing like a lot of like journaling stuff and planning stuff and like getting ready for next year as far as what I want to be doing with all of that, like what I kind of want, my whole setup to be as far as a system.
I too have been trying to figure out journal stuff because I got my Hobonichi in the Hobonichi A6 original. Finally got that in, but I've been trying to figure out, okay, like what is it that I really want to record, in the Hobonichi versus my bullet journal, which has been kind of like, it's been very kind of random, commonplace, just whatever. A lot of tarot stuff, I will say, but like memories, spreads, I'll just do random things. I feel like I did a video, gosh, I don't know how many months ago, kind of showing it's just random stuff. But so I think that journal will continue to be just random stuff that I don't fit into the A6. Deciding what I want in the A6. But what I figured out so far, I feel like at the very least it will be writing in a daily draw, and just what I've been doing in the past few months, even in the weeks, is to kind of write down just something from the day, just to remember the day because it go by so quickly. And then, so in October, I actually did finish my very first kind of custom doll, starting with a blank faceplate and kind of Frankensteining different parts together. Matt had, for my birthday, bought me, a couple blank faceplates to practice with. And I had like a doll wig from before that I wanted to repurpose. So, and I had to buy a couple more things, but on the whole, several pieces I already had and materials I already had, and then just trying to, piece together a doll basically. And so this first attempt was inspired by Coraline. Don't know if you've seen the book. So, I mean, she doesn't look exactly like her, but inspired by her.
Yeah,
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Love it. I can see why you definitely wanted to use that wig because, like, that's that's a fabulous wig.
Yeah. So actually, this wig was a much brighter blue and long. It was long and curly. And so I decided here, I can make myself big because I.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No. So I dyed it. I actually used a black dye to like darken the blue, so it came out this shade, which perfect. I wasn't sure that was going to happen. This is all like trial and error, but I did that. And then and I just chopped off all her hair. I just chopped it all off. I painted the face using acrylics and like pastel pencils and things like that. And so some of the like the boots I already had, and like the seeing stone I just made from like magic clay or whatever stuff I had lying around. But I think my favorite thing about her are her eye chips, which I did have to buy. But so I don't know if you can see, but this first set is the cat that you see in
I can see that. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, so I really like that. And then then she has the silver eyelids, which that came with the eye mechanism. I wasn't about to like paint Some people do that, and maybe with the next custom, I might try painting eyelids, but not this time. But anyway, so then then we have just like a nice kind of golden yellow for this
Mhm.
set, and then just a nice simple brown like
Mhm.
she has in the movie. And then, of course, another favorite of mine is the button
The
eyes.
buttons.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes. I was hoping that there was gonna be button
Of course,
eyes.
it's gotta be button eyes. Of course, it's gotta be button eyes. So
Love
yeah,
it.
so she's inspired by that character, and I'm just
Mhm.
really happy at how she turned out because I was prepared for this to be a complete trash project, because it's my first one, and
Mhm.
practice. You just got to practice and try things. So I'm
She
just
looks
really
fantastic, and
thank
you can
you.
totally see the Coraline, like, that
Aw,
Coraline is the first thing I would think when I look
thank
at her.
you.
Yep, sh
Yay.
you can totally see it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just yeah, I think it was really the color of the wig that really
Mhm.
I'm just like, what can I do? I want to just reuse what I have. So I've got
Mhm.
this blue wig,
Mhm.
oh, I should do Coraline. That'd be
Mhm.
perfect, especially for, Halloween time. So I got her done in October. So she's my first.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. So, if you are watching this prior to November 11th is going to be the day of our next Three Girls One Deck live. That will be on my channel at noon Central, 1 Eastern, 6 British time, like normal. Normal time. And obviously, if you're watching after that, you can find the recorded version of that live also on my channel in the Three Girls One Deck playlist. But yeah, and we will be back in early December to talk about what's going on with us this month. And yeah, it's been fun as always, ladies. So thanks so much, everybody, and bye bye.
Bye.